Okay, this is a video on how to mix the tres leches mixture. Obviously, you have the evaporated milk and you have the sweetened condensed milk over there. As previously discussed, I'm going to use this entire can. I'll use an entire can of the sweetened condensed milk, and I like to use anywhere from a quarter to half of this can, and yes, unfortunately the rest of it goes to waste. So in case you're wondering, this evaporated milk here is 12 ounces. The sweetened condensed milk is 14 ounces. Again, there's two of them. And let's not forget the 2% milk. So that's what makes it tres leches. It's three milks. So obviously this is one type of milk. That's your second type of milk. And this is your third type of milk. Tres leches. So what I like to do is I like to get a bowl and combined definitely this milk along with this. So these two milks, definitely like to put them in there. Maybe a little bit of the 2% and just mix it with the blender. And then we're going to transfer it over here, and we're going to somewhat top this off with 2% milk. And let's go ahead and start combining the ingredients. So that's your evaporated milk there. And again, we'll use a sweetened condensed milk over here. And this one's a lot thicker. And this is the reason why I use the blender, because this one is so thick that if I don't use a blender, it's not really gonna mix well with the evaporated milk and the 2%. So right now I'll grab this spatula here and I'll kind of scoop out whatever's in this can. But for right now, I'm gonna kind of put it off to the side, and I'm gonna grab this second one over here. And again, I'm gonna use anywhere from a quarter to half of this can. That should be good enough right there. This is a good time to, like I said, there's still some in there, and you can get a spatula like so and just carve it out, or not carve it out, but just scrape it out. So I went ahead and scraped out the rest of this can with this spatula here. So now I'm gonna get the blender. And we'll just blend this on low setting. And all you want to do is just mix it again, because that sweetened condensed milk, it's thick, and if you don't, or if I don't do this, it seems like it doesn't, to me it doesn't mix well. And I used to do it with a fork or a spoon, but it gets a little tiring. So for me, this is a lot easier. You know, I don't know if it's cheating, but to me, it's better. It's easier. And you just work it Shouldn't be too, I mean, you don't want to take too much, maybe a good minute should be sufficient. That should be good. Okay, so I went ahead and added a little bit more of the sweetened condensed milk. I went ahead and just used half of it. So for this particular mixture here, it's a can of the evaporated milk and then a can and a half of the sweetened condensed milk. Pour it in the container like so, a bowl, and then just blend it. And then we'll add 2% milk and we'll blend that in there as well. And then we'll put this over the cake and let it sit overnight. Well, I like to let it sit for 24 hours. So what I'm gonna do is I filled this sweetened condensed can with 2% milk, and I'm gonna go ahead and just add this into the mixture that we got there. And then we'll blend that. That should be good enough. And then we'll just pour this over the cake that's been cooling for about, I think by this time it's been cooling for close to an hour. So here we have the cake that's been sitting for close to an hour. It's cool. It's no longer warm, much less hot. So this is a perfect time to just start poking the cake with a fork. And what these are going to do, these holes, it's going to help the cake absorb the mixture of the tres leches. Now once we put the milk on top of this bread, you're going to want to spread some Cool Whip on top of the cake here. Because believe me, this is going to get, the bread's going to get moist really quick, and it's going to start to break from the top if you take too long to spread the Cool Whip. And then you just kind of want to just ease it, kind of just throw it, pour it all over the cake. Now as you can see, it looks like it wants to pour over. Just let it, you just kind of ease up on it. Maybe you want to give it some time to absorb a little bit. And then just add the rest. And the cake should absorb the that mixture of tres leches, and once it does, you can smooth this out with some Cool Whip. Just use a spatula here, just spread it on out. And once you spread the whip on top of the cake, then you want to top it off with some pecans. Now, one thing I like to point out is you want to take this out, the Cool Whip. You want it to, I mean, if it's frozen, you want to thaw it out, obviously. If it's in the refrigerator, you want to take it out around the time that you start combining the three milks. So that way, by the time you get it and spread it, it's a nice soft texture. And like I said, you just want to spread it over this like so. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait for this side over here to absorb, so it can look like these corners. I think I may have put the Cool Whip on just a little prematurely, so I'm gonna let it sit maybe for like another 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'll come back and finish off the rest of the cake with the Cool Whip. Alright, we'll continue on with the process. And like I said, this is all just preference. You can put as much or as little of Cool Whip that you desire. This is all preference. Now, when the Cool Whip is smooth like it is right now, it's super easy to apply it to the cake. If you try and apply the Cool Whip while it's semi-frozen, or you just took it out of the refrigerator, it's gonna be hard to spread it. It's gonna eventually start tearing the moist bread. This is almost like a shaving cream texture right now, the Cool Whip. And like I said, you can add as much or as little as you like. The main thing is you don't want to see the bread. Like this area right here, you can see some of the bread, so eventually I'll go over that part again. And just try and even it out as much as possible. Like I said, there's really no wrong way of doing this. That's a good amount right there. And I'm telling you, this is one of my best cakes that I enjoy eating. And this is, like I said, very simple to make. It's a crowd favorite, that's for sure. You know, as a kid, when I was growing up, I didn't really care too much for tres leches. As I got older, I started developing a taste for it. I don't know if I started developing a taste for it, but I know I was a lot older. I was already probably in my 20s, and I had a slice of tres leches. And as a kid and as a teenager, I just didn't really care for it. Anyway, so I was in my 20s and went to a restaurant, and I got me a slice of the tres leches, and I liked it. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go on the internet and see if there's a recipe for this, and there was, and it was a little think different. I think the other one called for whole milk, and this one I'm using 2%. I really don't know what's the difference, honestly, if you'll even taste it. I've never tried it with whole milk, which I may one day now that I'm talking about it. Put a little bit more right there. And like I said, it's nothing fancy. Then you'll get your pecan, your chopped pecans, and just sprinkle it. This bag is a 2-ounce bag of pecans, chopped pieces. You can get more pecans if you want. This is good for me. However, you can get a second one of those. It's not a problem. All right, we'll go ahead and sprinkle the pecans, and just do your best to even it out. Now this is a lot harder to do because I'm holding the camera with one hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause it real quick, and I'll be right back.